Hello, true crime fans, and welcome to Crime 11, a true crime podcast in 11 minutes. I'm your host, and today we're diving into a case that I think you guys are going to find really interesting. It's one that terrorized New York City in the summer of '77.
Oh, yeah.
Episode 7, Son of Sam.
Wow.
Even if you haven't pounded the pavement in the city that never sleeps, I'm sure you've heard whispers of this one. But trust me, there are some twists and turns here that might surprise even the most seasoned true crime aficionado.
Yeah, you know what's so fascinating about this case is how it really changed, I think, the very fabric of New York City. Imagine the 70s, crime rates are already high,
Right.
there's a palpable tension in the air, and then suddenly this string of shootings starts seemingly targeting young couples out on dates.
Yeah. 6 people were killed, 7 wounded, all from a .44 caliber bulldog revolver.
Crazy.
And the randomness of it all, the brutality, it's created just this massive wave of panic that just washed over the entire city.
And that fear was amplified by the media frenzy.
Oh, for sure.
Headlines screamed about the .44 caliber killer. Every shadow seemed suspicious. Every loud bang could be the son of Sam. I mean, can you imagine living in that kind of atmosphere?
Oh, absolutely. And then there were the letters, right? These bizarre rambling notes that were sent to the police
Right.
and to a famous columnist, Jimmy Breslin.
Oh, wow.
It was in these letters that the killer actually revealed his self-proclaimed name, Son of Sam. He taunted the city, promised more bloodshed. It was chilling.
The content of those letters is truly disturbing.
Yeah.
This mix of grandiosity and self-pity, and then this really chilling obsession with demons and the occult.
Right.
They were like trying to decipher a madman's journal.
So we have a terrified city.
Right.
We have a media feeding frenzy. We have a killer communicating in riddles. How in the world did they catch this guy?
Ironically, after this massive citywide manhunt, it was a parking ticket that actually led to his capture.
A parking ticket? You're kidding, right?
No, I'm not kidding. A witness reported seeing a car get ticketed near the scene of the last shooting. The police initially were skeptical, but they tracked the ticket down and it led them straight to David Berkowitz's apartment in Yonkers.
Wait, Yonkers. So he wasn't lurking in like some shadowy corner of the city.
Not quite. The son of Sam was a postal worker living a seemingly ordinary life just outside the city limits. When the police showed up, they found him with a .44 caliber bulldog revolver in his car. And you know what his response was. You got me.
Wow, talk about anticlimactic. I mean, after all that fear and mystery, it ends with a parking ticket.
Yeah.
I imagine the city breathed a collective sigh of relief when they finally caught him.
Absolutely. There was a huge sense of relief. It's like a weight was lifted off the city's shoulders.
Yeah.
People poured into the streets to celebrate.
Really?
Bars were sending cases of alcohol to the police station.
Wow.
It was a moment of collective catharsis.
That's wild. But then the confession. Berkowitz claims he was just following orders from a demon-possessed dog owned by his neighbor, Sam Carr. Did anyone actually believe that?
Well, that's where things get interesting. While most people dismiss the demon dog story as, the ramblings of a disturbed mind, it did raise some questions about the investigation.
Yeah.
Some people whispered about other potential suspects,
Right.
a possible cult connection, but those leads weren't really pursued.
And that's where Maury Terry enters the picture, right?
Exactly.
This journalist who was convinced Berkowitz didn't act alone.
Exactly. Maury Terry became obsessed with this case. He spent years digging deeper, convinced there was a much bigger story here.
Okay, so what did Terry find?
Spill the tea. Well, he started by digging into, eyewitness accounts.
Okay.
He found multiple witnesses who claimed to have seen more than one person at the crime scenes, not just a lone gunman.
So multiple people claiming to have seen others involved? That's pretty hard to ignore.
Yeah, you would think, right. But these accounts were largely dismissed by the police. They blamed it on, the chaos of the situation, unreliable witnesses, that kind of thing.
But Terry didn't buy it.
No, he saw a pattern. He thought the police were deliberately trying to bury information that didn't fit their neat little narrative. And he was just getting started.
Okay, this is where it gets juicy. What else did he find?
He uncovered a series of unsolved crimes in and around Yonkers.
Okay.
Some involving similar .44 caliber bullets that couldn't be conclusively linked to Berkowitz's gun.
So potential connections to other crimes, multiple eyewitnesses, and the police are sticking to the lone gunman theory. What was Terry's take on that?
He believed there was a cover-up, plain and simple.
Wow.
He thought the Yonkers Police Department was protecting powerful people connected to a satanic cult
Hold on.
that he believed Berkowitz was part of.
A satanic cult. Now we're going full-blown conspiracy theory, right?
Well, that's what a lot of people said at the time. But Terry was convinced. He argued that the investigation was deliberately sabotaged, Evidence was suppressed. Witnesses were intimidated into silence.
Wow, that's a heavy accusation. Did he have any proof to back that up?
He gathered a lot of circumstantial evidence, connections between people, strange coincidences, inconsistencies in the official reports, but hard proof. That was always just out of reach.
So he was building his case on intuition, gut feelings, connecting the dots, seeing a bigger picture that others refused to acknowledge.
Huh.
It's no wonder he became so fixated on it.
Exactly. He truly believed the truth was out there,
Yeah.
that there were victims who hadn't been given justice, a story that needed to be told.
Okay, but what about Berkowitz? How did he factor into all of this?
Well, Terry interviewed Berkowitz in prison multiple times.
Okay.
And those interviews, while often cryptic and contradictory, actually seemed to back up some of Terry's theories.
Really? What did Berkowitz say?
He would hint at others being involved,
Oh, wow.
claim he was forced to participate in the crimes, even suggest that the murders continued after his arrest.
So even the guy who confessed is casting doubt on the official story.
Yeah.
This is getting more and more intriguing.
It's like a hall of mirrors, right?
Yeah.
Every time you think you have a grasp on the truth, another layer of deception is revealed.
This whole case is like something straight out of a movie. So tell me what happened to Terry in his investigation. Did he ever get the definitive proof he was looking for?
Sadly, no. Despite years of relentless research, he never managed to expose this grand conspiracy he believed was at the heart of the Son of Sam case.
Did he face any pushback for pursuing this so fiercely?
Oh, tons. He was ridiculed by a lot of people in law enforcement and the media. They called him a conspiracy theorist, obsessed with a fantasy.
Right.
This obsession took a toll on his personal life, his relationships, even his health.
That's kind of heartbreaking. He dedicated his life to uncovering what he thought was the truth, only to be ostracized and dismissed.
It is a sad story. It's a reminder of the line between obsession and delusion.
Right.
But it also speaks to the power of believing in something so strongly that you're willing to challenge the world even when everyone else is telling you you're wrong.
So where does that leave us all these years later? The official case is closed. Berkowitz is still behind bars, and Moriah Terry passed away in 2015, his quest for the truth unfinished. What are we supposed to make of all of this?
It's a case with more questions than answers, a reminder of the dark side of human nature, and that sometimes the truth is more terrifying than any fiction we could conjure up.
It definitely gives you pause, makes you think twice about the things we think we know for sure. But we've covered a lot of ground here. We talked about the reign of terror in New York, the bizarre letters from the Son of Sam himself, the almost comical way he was finally caught, the demon dog defense, and of course the tireless pursuit of the truth by Moriah Terry. What are your final thoughts on all of this?
I think the Son of Sam case is a chilling reminder that sometimes the monsters aren't lurking in the shadows. They're hiding in plain sight, living seemingly ordinary lives.
Right.
And sometimes the truth is just too difficult to face, even for those who are supposed to uphold it.
That's a sobering thought. It's cases like this that make you realize that reality can be stranger and much darker than fiction. Thanks for sharing your insights on this one.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, it really makes you wonder, what if Terry was right? What if there really is more to this story than we know?
Well, one of the most compelling things about his investigation was the sheer number of eyewitness accounts that contradict the official narrative. I mean, there were so many people who were at or near those Son of Sam crime scenes that reported seeing multiple attackers, not just a lone gunman.
So multiple people claiming to have seen other people involved. That seems like pretty solid evidence to just ignore.
Right. But these accounts were mostly dismissed by the police.
Oh.
They said it was just the confusion of the moment, unreliable witnesses, the drill.
But Terry didn't buy that at all, did he?
Not for a second. He saw it as a deliberate effort to, kind of sweep anything under the rug that didn't fit their story.
Right.
He believed these eyewitness accounts. When you look at all of them together, they paint a very different picture of what happened.
What about physical evidence? Did Terry ever find anything concrete to support his theory?
He did. Remember those .44 caliber bullets we talked about?
Huh?
Well, he found all these unsolved crimes in and around Yonkers that involved similar bullets that couldn't be conclusively linked to Berkowitz's gun.
So he's finding these potential links to other crimes, multiple eyewitness accounts that suggest a conspiracy. And the police are sticking to their lone gunman story. How did Terry explain that?
He believed that the authorities, specifically the Yonkers Police Department, were involved in a massive cover-up. They were protecting powerful people connected to this cult he believed Berkowitz was part of.
Wow.
He said that the investigation was purposely sabotaged, evidence was buried, witnesses were intimidated into keeping quiet.
Wow, that's a serious accusation. Did he have any hard proof to back that up?
Well, proof is a tricky thing in a case like this. He had tons of circumstantial evidence, connections between people, patterns of behavior, inconsistencies, official reports. But that, undeniable smoking gun proof, it always seemed to just elude him.
So he's building his case on intuition, connecting the dots, and seeing this big picture that everyone else is refusing to acknowledge. It's no wonder this case became his life's work.
Absolutely. He
Yeah.
was driven by this deep belief that the truth was out there, that justice hadn't been served.
Okay, so let's talk about Berkowitz again for a sec.
Yeah.
How did he feel about Terry's investigation?
Well, remember those interviews Terry did with Berkowitz in prison?
Yeah.
Even though they were often confusing and contradictory, he actually offered some support for Terry's claims.
What do you mean?
Well, you would hint that other people were involved or say he was pressured into taking part or even suggest that the murders continued after he was locked up.
So even the guy who confessed is casting doubt on the official story. This is getting more and more intriguing.
It's like peeling back the layers of an onion only to find more layers underneath.
So what happened to Terry's investigation in the end? Did he ever find that definitive proof he was looking for?
Sadly, no. Despite years of research, countless interviews, unwavering dedication, he never managed to expose the conspiracy he believed was at the heart of the Son of Sam case.
Did he face any pushback for pursuing this so fiercely?
Oh, tons. He was ridiculed by people in law enforcement, by the media. They called him a conspiracy theorist, a crackpot obsessed with his phantom cult. His obsession took a toll on his personal life, his relationships, his health.
That's heartbreaking. He devoted his life to uncovering what he thought was the truth, only to be ostracized and dismissed.
It is a sad story. It's a reminder of how thin the line can be between obsession and delusion. But it also speaks to the strength of belief, the power of that unwavering conviction that can drive someone to challenge the accepted narrative, even when everyone's telling them they're wrong.
So here we are all these years later. The official case is closed. Berkowitz is still behind bars, and Marie Terry unfortunately passed away in 2015. His search for the truth ultimately remained unfinished. What are we left with after all this?
We're left with a lot of unanswered questions. A chilling reminder that mystery has a way of lingering, It's unsettling. It's a look into the potential depths of human darkness.
It makes you think twice about the things we think we know for sure. Well, thank you for walking us through this twisted and complicated case. I know I'm walking away with a lot to think about.
Of course, it's these kinds of cases that really remind us how important it is to think critically, to question what we're told, and to never give up on the pursuit of the truth, even when it feels impossible to find.
That's right. And to our listeners, if you're as captivated by this story as we are, I encourage you to check it out for yourselves. There's a whole world of information out there. Articles, documentaries, even Terry's own book. They'll inform your own opinions, and who knows, maybe you'll uncover something new. This is a case that stays with you.
Absolutely. And remember, sometimes the most terrifying monsters aren't the ones hiding in the shadows. They're the ones living right next door, blending in, just waiting for the right moment to reveal their true nature.
Until next time, stay curious, stay informed, and most importantly, stay safe out there.